So hello, today I'm at St Peter's Church in South Weald in Essex, and I'd like to talk to you about the history of the church and the village itself. So South Weald is a small village only 2 miles from Brentwood in Essex. It's set on a hill surrounded by Essex farmland and the South Weald Park. It's got a population of 1,900 and the elevation is 92 metres above sea level. It's an area of fascinating history. It's got an Iron Age fort and a settlement. Which are all within walking distance of here. Obviously not there now, but they're quite close by. So William Stuckley of the 18th century, who was a pioneer of archaeology, he discovered a Druid temple on nearby Navistock Common. Now, Druids were religious leaders within the ancient Celtic tribes of the time. And I found it interesting that South Weald's cricket pitch now occupies part of this ancient fort, or where it would have stood. Now, in Roman times, the main London to Colchester road passed fairly close by to here. And it's also likely that a Roman settlement would have been here. Now, moving on to the Saxon period, in 1062 we know that the manor of South Weald was owned by Earl Harold Godwinson, soon to become king. And he then gave the manor to the canons of the Church of Holy Cross in Waltham Cross. There was a second manor here, and it was owned by a man called Sprott. Now, in 1086, the new tenant-in-chiefs were Robert Gernon, who's a powerful landowner, along with the existing canons of Waltham Cross. Now, lords of the manor were Geoffrey de Mandeville and Robert Gernon. So you can see Robert Gernon was a very powerful character. I'd just like to say, look at the camber of this road. Must be quite dicey when it snows here. There were 27 households back in the period, and they're made up of villagers, smallholders and slaves, and there was also one freeman. There were plough teams which turned the land, and there were 275 pigs which roamed the woodland, and there were 65 sheep that grazed the hills, and even 4 cattle, probably oxen, which ploughed the fields. Now, I discovered that Earl Harold Godwinson made a pilgrimage to the Church of Waltham Abbey, and in 1060 he had the church rebuilt there. Let's put that on there. He had the church rebuilt in Waltham Abbey, and he set up a college for 16 canons. And it would be these canons that would go on to own the church here at South Weald. Now, in 1177, Henry II, he reformed the college at Waltham Abbey, and he sent out the canons to surrounding villages, and some of them would have come here. And it's around this time that St Peter's was built. And soon after, a leper colony for people with leprosy was built in nearby Brook Street in 1201. And once here, the canons put the park to good use, introducing deer. If you want to go to the park today, it's highly recommended. It's, where are we? Short, yet straight ahead on the right hand side. It's one of the best parks in Essex. Now, Weald Hall, which once stood a mere 100 metres from St Peter's, replaced the manor owned by Earl Harold Godwinson. Now, Weald Hall was built in the Tudor period by the Brown family. Now, Sir Anthony Browne, he was a regular at Henry VIII's royal court, and he would go on to found Brentwood School, which is still in existence today, and we'll see his tomb in a minute. Now, the Browns lived here until 1668, and then they passed the manor on to the Scrogg family and the Smith families. Now, Erasmus Smith was a wealthy merchant. He extended the hall, and by 1752 Thomas Tower took over, and you'll see the memorials to the Tower family as well. Now, the gardens were cultivated to perfection. The park was extended, and in 1901 the Tower family employed 15 living servants. Now, sadly, 2 of the Tower's sons would not return from World War I. In World War II, the hall became a training camp for D-Day, and by 1946 it had been sold. In 1950 it had been demolished, and the land returned to land. I noted in 1662 a windmill turned here, and several miles away at Brook Street a watermill stood. By 1736 we had 3 constables patrolling this busy parish, and there was even a set of stocks outside the church. 4 years later there would be a workhouse would be built here, which would be built on the site of the White Horse Inn. In the vestry at St Peter's it was decided that the poor should be put to good use, and the vicar, Francis Wollaston, we see his memorial as well, he supplied wool and spinning wheels. Then came the workhouse master. This was in a time where charity and the Browne family, so long established here, they built the almshouses which still stand here today. They built 5 in total, and there would have been 3 men and 2 women who would live here. Now, the requirement was that they would attend St Peter's twice a week. Having a roof over their head, I guess, was a luxury back in 1740. South Weald is unusual in that it had 8 public houses or pubs outside of the village, and most of them still remain, maybe with different names. Back in the 17th century, right next to St Peter's stood the Spread Eagle Inn, which was then renamed the Black Spread Eagle. It was then named Tower Arms in 1878 after the Tower family, and then its name was transferred across the road until the fine building that I'm going to show you now. And if you look there, you can see the date plate. And you can see the original iron bracket that would held up the sign. And if we look up here, we can see the most recent sign. And so the Tower Arms was the village pub for almost 95 years, but in 2014 its doors closed. A petition was started by the locals, so strong was their feeling. And as we speak, the old pub is undergoing renovations, and I hope one day the village will get its pub back. I don't know if it's one of those old markers there, don't know. Now we're going to focus on St Peter's Church itself. Now, one thing I'd like to point out is the former nave is now the south aisle. So as you walk in, that's more or less where the original church was. Let's see if we can walk across here without getting run over. Yeah. Just started to rain. As you see, most of the churches here come under the Diocese of Chelmsford. Got an old iron latch here. There. It's a shame the sun's gone in, but you get an idea of all the flowers are out now. It's quite warm at the moment. And it's the first rain we've had for a week, but the farmers need it. And I did notice the rug. Yeah, I did notice even the rugby pitch was pretty parched. Now then, let's have a look. So we'll start off on the West Tower. So this is early 16th century, and it's 13 feet square, and it's made of a stone called ashlar. It's got an embattled parapet on the top, as you can just about see. It's built in 3 stages, and on the top, let's have a little zoom up. You can see gargoyles in the corners. And the clock is from 1676. Well, a clock was here. The mechanism of that clock is now in the Bury St Edmunds Museum. And basically this whole tower went under a major renovation in 1868. We've got a tomb which looks like it dates from around Napoleonic period. A little bit before the Napoleonic Wars, but even so, you get an idea of this stonework. You can see the tower there. And the tower's got, as you go up the spiral staircase, you've got these sort of small windows to let in some light. Now the south porch, which is in front of us, that was built in 1868, so it's fairly recent. But it's got an interesting story. Originally it was much larger. Oh sorry, it replaced the original porch. And what they did with this, they covered these gaps for the windows and the door with canvas, and the school children would be educated in here, even in the winter. And there was a small heater in there, so I guess when they're all in there it's quite cosy. Now, and that was let me have a look. That was the church clerk John Stutt who dealt with all that. Now here we have the oldest part of the church from 1150. You can see heavily Norman. See the big stone jambs there, Now this is described as a segmented arch. The supports are trapesium and axe ornamentation with the Norman chevron stonework. It's mighty fine. Very good condition. Now we should go inside. This church is normally open, so please come in and have a look around. So the door's a bit stiff. Just make sure you give it a good turn. You've got double doors here. And what I'll do is I'll go to the furthest point. Okay, so what we're looking at now is the south aisle and chapel. It measures 92 feet by 19 feet and it's 12th century. Now this was the original nave and chancel. If you look, it's got 6 bays, which are 13th century. So these piers or columns coming down. Now this chapel that is in front of us is described as being modern. Oh, let's just have a look at this window. Can't pass the little window. It's Jesus at sea. His disciples all panicking. Don't blame them. As I understand it, he had a sleep below deck and the storm started up. So they woke him up. Now this chapel is, let me have a look. It's War Memorial Chapel. It's dedicated in 1951, so not far after World War II. We've got some very nice oak screens. I'm not sure of the date, but they are something else. Even down to the base. Got iron inserts. If you go inside, looks like there's a griff in there, carved in oak, which on either side. It's got his tongue out, this one. Loads of detail, that. No cheating. That's better. It's getting a bit loose. Right, now then. Just going to try and get my paperwork in order. So we've got the high altar area. Now under this chair, reading desk, there's a slab there. This is where Sir Anthony Browne is his tomb. He's the founder of Brentwood School and South Weald's almshouses from 1563. And then you've got various crests there, and you've got the fallen of World War I. It looks like they've got a series of panels which continue onto the south side. And this is a memorial for the Tower family. 1915, yeah, it's the 2 lads that died in World War I. And looks like at the top there's something from the RAF. More memorials. If we go over here, we have the banners that they use. There's a memorial there for the Tower family. It looks like an anchor wrapped in flag. And this magnificent memorial here. So much work gone into this. Ridiculous. It's the Lord and his wife. Very expensive. And this is for Hugh Smith, who was Lord of the Manor. There's lots of little detail everywhere you look. So there's some paper cranes or birds, I'm not sure what they are. It's quite nicely made. But if you look on here, a little detail like there's the Royal Crest, or there's a crest of the Navy, the Army, and then over there it would be the Air Force. Now we're going to go over to the north aisle. It's a really big church for a very small village, so at one time must be of great importance here. So now we're in the north aisle, which was rebuilt in the 15th century, and it was replaced in 1868 to make the new nave and organ chamber. So this is the new nave and chancel. Got a fantastic set of timbers running across there. Amazing. Now there's many brasses running along this wall, this west wall, and it runs all the way round. This first brass, for example, is from 1450. This is a man in, let me have a look. So these brasses were recovered from residents who had them at home, and they were mounted by Reverend Proctor. Now left, 1480, this gentleman here, let me focus on that. If you follow it down, he's got his belt, he's got a set of rosemary beads and a purse. You can see 12 beaded rosemary. This is a sad one, this one. 2 children here. Got the younger one on the right hand side. This is 7-year-old Robert and Alan, who's 2, and they're both kneeling. They died in 1634. In 1634, it was the first English colony set up in Maryland, USA. This one here is from, this is Elizabeth Wingfield, died 1616. In 1616, Sir Walter Raleigh was released from the Tower of London, and William Shakespeare dies in retirement at Stratford upon Avon. And then we have lovely piece of craftsmanship here in marble, great detail. And the memorials carry on. Now this memorial is quite unusual because there was a rubbing done of it. Let me have a look. So in 1851, a rubbing revealed that the brass originally had a husband. So obviously you've got just a wife now and children. He originally had 3 wives and 21 children. You can see a fair amount of them now. We have another memorial here. We have 7 boys on this side and 6 girls on this side. This is from 1500, incredibly old. This memorial of a man 1450. You can see his costume there. Incredibly weathered well. This is the most detailed memorial. This is Arthur Crawford, died 1606, and you can see again great detail. Now this font in front of us is from 1662. It's made in the shape of a vase, and in that year Samuel Pepys watches the first Punch and Judy show in London, and Charles II sells Dunkirk to France. Now if you look down here, you can see the carving to prove its date. Look at that. TD, could that be the priest or the carver? And then you've got a Victorian sort of tower oak font cover which goes up to some sort of counterweight system, so it pulls it up. And a nice window here. Looks like Moses with the 10 Commandments there, the tablet. Now then, we're going to walk down to the chancel. If you look through the church, there's a lot of flowers in here. I'm not sure if it's because they've had a wedding here or if it's from the Easter period. Let's have a look. So I've got some really nice lilies here. Lovely lilies. And this is for Easter lilies are dedicated to the memory of the following loved ones. And there's a big list there of people. It's a nice idea. Then we have a really nice font. Looks like a Victorian one. Sorry, not a font. That's a pulpit. Let's have a little look. Yeah. And again, it's got this great marble that's used on the west wall. Same people. This would be, I guess, where the choir would be. So either side the choir would sit. It's a really big church, and you can see the pews actually, or you can't see, but they've actually got numbers on them. Now this east window here is from 1886, dedicated to Reverend Charles Belly, who was responsible for the major church renovations here. So he would have been a main person here. Where are we going? These amazing stone alabaster reredos of 1885 shows the tomb of Nicodemus, Mary Magdalene and Joseph of Arimathea. Now Joseph of Arimathea, he donated his tomb to Jesus of Nazareth, and it covers up there a little bit of the 10 Commandments. So I guess they would have had a lot of discussion about that when that went ahead. And you can see some lovely paint, some artwork there in gold in the Victorian period. So much detail, so much to look at, you can't really take it all in. And then over here we've got the sedilia, which where the priest and his assistant would sit. And then I've noticed you've got some poppy head pews here. Now we're going to go back into the war chapel. Oh, the altar there, it's under that cloth, I guess. That was that's recent, 1983, in memory of Mrs. Bradshaw. Oh, and I'm messing up the organ as well. The organ is 1879 by Connaught and Co. of Huddersfield in the Midlands. The majority of that pipework is original. We've got some lovely flowers here. Now, if you notice the colours, yellow and blue, that's because they are in memory of Ukrainians who are in the conflict at the moment. I'd like to talk to you about the east window, which is here. Let's see if I can put that there. Trouble focusing on this. That's it. East window, 1886, in memory of Reverend... Oh, sorry, I got the wrong one. Hold on. Right. Bear with me. 1888, dedicated to the Tower family. We have Archangel Gabriel, Michael and Raphael. There you go, got them now. It's cooperating. Great Victorian colours. The Tower family's motto is, "The name of God is the strongest tower." Now, this window here is quite an interesting window as well. Dedicated again to the Tower family, Sir Christopher and Sir Hubert, who is a patron saint of huntsmen. Now, there's a connection here. Weald Park, they had an ancient herd of deer, and that was until 1944, when Allied troops accidentally removed the fencing for training for D-Day, for the landings, and they escaped. So they reintroduced a new herd of deer, but some of the descendants of the herd still roam the area. Remember, these may be related to the time of Waltham Abbey in 1177. Again, some great flowers. And some more over here. If you like your flowers, there's always seems to be some in churches. It's quite nice. Look at that. A lot of work gone into that. Now we're going to enter the tower. It's got the oldest piece of glass in there, in St. Peter's. It's Flemish, and it portrays Abraham's intended sacrifice to Isaac, and also the visit of the Queen of Sheba to King Solomon. So let's see if we can zoom up on that one. Very nice. Now then, when you come into this tower, you've got a lot of memorials on this wall. Now, this first one here, this gentleman here, is Reverend Francis Wollaston, who donated the spinning wheels and the wall to the poorhouse. Below this Octavius Edward Coop, and he was a member of Romford's famous brewery family. He was also a member of Parliament. He laid the foundation stone to the church in Brentwood, which is massive. Now, this memorial here, which is so fine you can hardly see the inscription on it, but it is there. Now, this memorial is from the Neve family. It was a city merchant, Sir Richard Neve, and he purchased Dagenham's Manor. He knocked it down to build a Georgian house. He became the Bank of England. In World War II, the house took a direct hit. And they ended up building Harold Hill Estate, which is between here and Romford. So anybody knows the area, it's a massive estate. Looks like it's a lovely old oil painting of the tower. Don't know the date. This tower door, which you can probably not really see. Oh yeah, maybe. So this is the original studded oak door. So you take this and it will take you up to the tower itself, which will be quite an interesting experience. And it does say there, gives you a warning, 104 steps. I believe it's open at a certain time of the year. Now, there are bells here. There are 6 bells, and we've got an Anthony Bartlett of 1664. The Bartlett family remained master bell founders in London's Whitechapel until the end of the century. We've also got a Philip Whiteman, 1692. This is a Clerkenwell bell founder of London, which I've not come across before. And the family recast St Paul's Cathedral's bell called Great Tom. So now we're going to go outside. Finish off by looking at the rest of the church. Okay. So we've not been lucky with the sun, but there you go. At least it's not raining. So you can see some of the houses that surround the church. Obviously that's the central focus point, and then you've got the community here. Now, you can see the Victorian renovations here. You can see they're putting their own stone carvings of heads. Now walking on headstones. These are all old headstones that go all the way round. Now today, St Peter's Church is still carrying out baptisms, weddings and funerals. And it's an active part of the community here. And I hope you enjoyed this walkabout.